What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to the 18th episode of Tuffy Talk. Thank y'all so much for tuning in today. Got a great episode for you guys. We got an interview today with former NC State tight ends coach and special teams coordinator Eddie Faulkner, who's now the running backs coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Today we kind of dive into his time so far with the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as talk about his time at NC State. So definitely going to be a great interview today. But please make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to us by hitting the button in the bottom right-hand corner. It's free to do and really supports the channel and supports us. So really would appreciate it if you guys could do that for us. Please also make sure as well to like this video if you guys enjoyed it and want more NC State content. And please also too check out our other content. If you haven't already, we have 17 other episodes full of NC State content, discussions, interviews, you name it, that all NC State fans will definitely want to check out. So please make sure to do that, including the things NC State fans never say. Make sure to check those out if you haven't already. All Wolfpack fans have loved them so far, and you guys will too. And also too, make sure to follow us on at Tuffy Talk Now. Bang on Twitter or Instagram if you haven't already to stay in touch with us. And also to reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram if you have any interest in any Tuffy Talk hats. Be more than happy to walk you guys through that. So with that being said, let's not wait a second longer. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Thank you so much again for tuning in for this interview. We got here former tight ends coach Eddie Faulkner and special teams coordinator. Can't forget that little piece as well. Thanks, Coach Faulkner, for joining in with us.
Oh, yeah, man, no doubt. Love it.
Yeah, appreciate it. So first of all, I mean, one thing we always love to do, especially, somebody, we haven't, really, talked to in a while, is so, just want to kind of get an idea of, how everything's been going so far. I know this past football season was obviously weird with COVID, but how have your first two seasons overall gone so far in Pittsburgh, and how's it been living in Pittsburgh?
It's been a great experience, man. I don't really have anything negative to say. The only negative, was pretty positive down there in Raleigh in terms of the weather and stuff like that. Like I'd give Raleigh the nod on that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I love the organization, love the people I work with, love the players. I'm blessed and around some really good people.
Yeah. And because I know one of the things that I knew very well from working with you was that you always had a draw to the Steelers. I know actually taking a look back when you had finished your playing career at Wisconsin, that you actually got signed by the Steelers in 2001. So for those State fans who are listening that don't know, can you kind of talk a little bit in terms of what has been your draw, or your, I guess, leading you towards the Steelers and really wanting to work there?
Well, I always respected the way they went about playing the game growing up, watching them. I can remember that. And then, when they gave me that opportunity coming out of college to play, that makes a connection. And then from that standpoint, I've always kind of cheered and rooted for them because I just like what they represent, the organization, the people. And, to get an opportunity to be here is a dream, so, it's awesome.
Yeah, so I know that one of the biggest things for you, especially this being your first NFL job, which is a big achievement, is what would you say? How would you say the transition has been from being a college coach to an NFL coach?
It's been good. There's certain aspects I miss of the college game. One thing that's the biggest change from college to NFL is I have to definitely say is your time, because it's all football. There's no recruiting. There's no going to, banquets or recruiting dinners or going with boosters and all those kind of things that fill your time. Academics, the players a lot of time are gone in the off season, gone away training in their hometowns or wherever they make their home. So there's no really us with them. It's just all football and us talking football and scheme and stuff like that. So, it opens up a lot of time where, a lot of times you be home for dinner with the family and stuff like that. So, you can't really put a price tag on that. That's what I always tell people. Yeah. And so from that standpoint, it's been great, but there's definitely some aspects of it that I miss.
So you touched on that being a part of what you miss. So what do you miss about it? I mean, is it the getting to meet, the relationships you build kind of thing?
Absolutely. I miss the relationships you make. I know definitely like my wife missed the relationships that in closeness you had in bonds with other wives. wives, coaches' wives, the people that you meet throughout the recruiting process. Like at all the places I've been, state included, we've developed relationships with people, recruits and their parents and players. And in the NFL, that's totally different. So I definitely miss that part of it. I miss the evaluation process and the recruiting part of it. I really do. But a lot of times I don't miss it either. You know what I mean? Because sometimes that road can kind of grind on you. So I loved everything about the college game and the pro game. I love everything about it too. So it's like a win-win for me. You know what I mean? But I really appreciate what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So you mentioned that. I'm a guy, one of my interests, I love state stuff, obviously, but I really did follow the recruiting side pretty hard. It's just one of my interests, and it's always has been. Do you have any like stories you look back on, like, man, this was a really interesting relationship that I had, or a special relationship I bonded with certain players? I imagine all of them you had good relationships with, but any cool, interesting recruiting stories or anything like that?
Oh man, yeah, tons. It'd be hard to start to kind of point them out.
Yeah.
I guess I would say you make a relationship with all of them. Like for me, if I was recruiting a player and he came to North Carolina State, I had a good relationship with him. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like that's part of the reason why they're attracted to the school and the staff and that. And so, for the most part, any of those guys that I had the opportunity to recruit while there, I had a good relationship with you. I could go family to family and tell you how they were and how that relationship is, and have a relationship with their parents and still talk to them to this point, very often. And so the relationships piece in college, in the college game that you develop, not just with your players on your roster, coaches, families, but in the recruiting process and the people you meet along that way, you miss that because that's kind of really cut out when you make the jump to the pro ball.
Right. So so obviously, and as a state fans, they all know the relationship you have right now with Jaylen Samuels, and you recruited him, and now you're coaching him, and you coach him in college, you coach him in the NFL.
Right.
What is that, that line been like, going from seeing it kind of all the way from the beginning as far as his playing days go?
Yeah, and I recruited him too. So I can go back to, when he was 15, 16 years old. It's stuff that stories are, made about, you know what I mean? It's like, that's all I can say with that. Like, who could have predicted that would be how it went down? I can tell you this for sure. The way he played and his opportunity he got with the Steelers was a big part of the reason why I got my opportunity with the Steelers. Like, I'm not by any stretch of the imagination, do not understand that. I mean, I definitely know that that's true. And, once you get here, now you got to do your job and let's go ball out. And so, that's where pro ball is different. But having the opportunity to be with him through that time, that's stuff that you can't make up.
Yeah.
And so that's been awesome. And I got you talk about a family we got a great relationship with. Like Greg and Sherry Samuels are like family. Family.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? We talk to them all the time. And I have a lot of relationships of players I recruited and coached through recruiting that I talk to all the time. You know what I mean? And so, that part of it's been great. So it's more than just him and the player coach relationship. It's mentor, friendship. There's still respect there because I'm his coach and he's the player at this level, but I respect the fact that he's gone from a boy to a man and I got the opportunity to watch it. And so, I'm proud of Jaylen too, couldn't be more proud of him. I mean, this is about as close as you could get to coaching somebody who would be like your son in the NFL that ain't actually your son, So it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I can understand that being a special bond. So like when you were recruiting him, is there something particular about him from the very get-go that you've seen even grow even more now? At least, I mentioned him as, maturity-wise, you mentioned him from kind of being a boy to a man. Athletically, what was it that drew you to him in the first place?
Man, he was just,
we all know it on the field now, so.
Yeah, he was just a beast, you know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't in his talk. Anybody knows, well, on the field, he'll talk, he can talk smack, but as far as, his performance. He does it with his just going out and going about his business, and he had a certain confidence and aura about him, and smoothness, and versatility at a very young age that you just were like, he can do something. I've always been a believer of, get good football players in your program. We'll figure out, particularly in college, we'll figure out what we can do with them. And he was just, his year before, because, at Miller Creek, you got good players. So a lot of times you had to work your way up and wait your turn. Shoot, he was playing defense and came in and had I think it was an interception, as a sophomore that he took to the house down the sideline early. He went out on the field. Hey, you play this position. I don't even think it was his position. They threw him in there at safety. He gets a pick six. That's Jay Sam.
Yeah.
And so, you just got to get good football players, in my opinion, in your program who are tough and confident. And he, I don't know if anybody could have predicted what he became in terms of state, but I can't lie and say it surprised me. I feel I knew he was capable of it. I'm glad he got the opportunity to do it and he capitalized.
Yeah, you get to kind of sit back. You're not really, like you said, you're not shocked, but you're still amazed by it. Like how blessed he is. How blessed he is. I
respect it. Like I tell people all the time. I mean, at one point, Jay Sam was a Bolitnikov, I think, semifinalist.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Mackey finalist or semifinalist. He was a Paul Hornig award list guy or something. And then he got drafted as a running back. If that doesn't speak to what his versatility was, then I'm not sure what would.
Right.
And so, he sometimes I can remember there's clips where he would put his hand on the ground and block, as an inline tight end. Not that you want to live that way with him, but he did that.
Yeah.
So he was just a special talent.
Yeah. Okay. And I still remember to this day, the first time we really saw Jay Sam's whoa, was it was 2014, the Syracuse game, Doran's first win, and it was a fake punt, and he took that baby and ran through 2 or 3 people and got that first down. And that was I still remember to this day watching that outside and going, man, that dude only had one offer. What?
His first play when he came in, we played Georgia, I think Southern. His first play ever as a Wolfpacker. He catches a wheel route down the sideline, I think, for 42 yards.
That's it.
I remember that, actually, now that you mentioned it.
Georgia Southern, I think.
It was Georgia Southern.
First play he ever played. And then, he worked his way through. But the play that you're talking about, what's interesting about that, is that the play, was designed where there was a kick-out block, and he's supposed to come under the kick-out block. But he went around it. So he made it harder than it was supposed to be. So he broke a bunch of tackles and strung the play out and found a way to make a play in Jay Sam fashion, where in reality he should have cut underneath the kickout block and he might have scored. And to this day, I'm mad at him about it, but it's just one of those things all right, Jay.
But it's kind of are you really surprised he did that? Because he's
exactly right. Yeah. I mean, that was I was learning at that time still that is who he was. He was just a baller. What I mean? And as long as he knew what to do, when it came to game days before the players, I mean, at that time, go out and let him do his thing. You don't need to be hovering over him. Hey, you okay? Guys like Jay saying, when you get to game day, you're just all right, man.
I'll see you after the game.
be smart, make good decisions. Stuff like that. And so,
And to finish off with Jay Sam, I will say you were talking about smack talker. I know that Chubb is very famous for his smack talking, but Jay Sam he was a smack talker.
Jay Sam's I think anybody at NC State on the team, and particularly on offense, will tell you Jay Sam is legendary when it comes to his game day trash talk.
Oh yeah. So kind of transitioning to a little bit. So, I know one of the big things, one of the exciting things for State particularly was when Coach Canada came on to staff. And so now you're going, man, we got Faulkner, we got Jay Sam, and now we got Matt Canada there. So, I mean, it's like the Pittsburgh Wolfpack over there. So, I mean, what was your initial reaction when you got in the news that Coach Canada was joining the staff?
Well, last year he was our quarterbacks coach, so he was actually on staff last year. So you have to go back to the beginning of 20, I guess the end of 19, whenever that would have been, beginning of 20 when he first got on. I was super excited. Matt's a very good friend of mine. Matt's family. Our youngest call him Uncle Matt and Aunt Aaron. So I mean,
Yeah.
like he's a very close friend. Like that was fantastic. And then it just
Yeah.
not only that, or since you take it to that extreme, not only is Jay Sam there that played in that system, but Anthony McFarland, who he played coached at Maryland when he was there, Matt Canada as a coordinator, is on our. We drafted last year. He's on our roster, and Derek
right.
Watt, who Matt was at Wisconsin and played fullback in Matt's system. I actually
Wow.
think that Matt was the coordinator at Wisconsin that made Derek Watt the switch from he was a linebacker at first, and then he moved him to fullback, and now he's I think he's in his 6th year as a fullback in the National Football League. So
It was a good move.
Jeez, yeah, no kidding.
right.
So, and kind of transitioning, now, so kind of taking it back. So obviously, just like I had said earlier, is that you finished playing at Wisconsin, you had a little bit of professional time with the Steelers, and then you went to the up to Edmonton and played for the Eskimos there for a little bit as well, and then you got your first opportunity with Anderson University in Indiana as a running backs coach. So, I mean, just wanted to kind of ask you, I mean, how did you get that opportunity? I mean, that you had, I mean, who was it that kind of helped you get that?
Well, man, so the Canadian, I got cut from the Canadian League, and it's early enough. Although the season, is going there early. That season starts so early, so like you're a few weeks in by the time you get to what would be the start of a Division III season. And so I got cut, and I was like, man, like I got to get into coaching. Like I had made that decision that that's what I was going to do. And so I was looking for any opportunity really to do that. My mom actually had a relationship, and man, that time of year, it's super hard because, everybody's moving on. Like there's really no spots like that. So my mom had a connection with the president of Anderson University. She served on, I think, some type of committee or board with him, and just gave him a note, like a heads up, like, hey, this is what my son's looking for. And then he got that to the football coach, Steve Barrows. I'll always be indebted. I talk to Coach Barrows as much as I talk to anybody right now. He gave me my first opportunity, to be a coach. So I always be indebted to him. But anyway, he called me and let me come in. I came in, I made $500
The big
as a
bucks.
stipend for the season. All right. And I had to, so obviously to make ends meet. All right. Now I had, at this point in time, I had a college degree I could put to use. Obviously, I'm from the University of Wisconsin, but I decided this is how I was pursuing coaching. I wanted this. And so I used to drive at the downtown Hyatt hotel, downtown Indianapolis. I would wake up 6 a.m., have my oldest son, would take him to daycare early in the morning, get to work by 6 a.m., get out of there by 2, drive it, from that point, like about 45 minutes from downtown Indianapolis to Anderson University, which is in Anderson, Indiana, to get there in time for practice, spend there, do my thing that time, and then repeat for $500 stipend. But I was parking cars as a valet at the Hyatt Hotel.
Wow.
That's what I was going to say. I was valet parking. I would say this: if you get the opportunity to valet park, if that was a side hustle, I'm telling you right now, you can make some good money and tips if you want to hustle valet parking cars. But that's what I had to do to get my start. And then once that happened, just that gave me my start to start moving up, and got an opportunity to go to Ball State as a GA, and just going from there.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and one thing too, which stood out to me when I worked with you at NC State was, it definitely was obvious as day that you were more of a player's coach. I mean, you weren't the guy necessarily, to bring him down, just like you were saying, get on him. You're more of like the, hey, listen, come on now, you know what to do here, kind of the motivator, pusher kind of deal. And which is, and then on the other side of the field, you had Ryan Nielsen at the time, who was yelling even when he was happy. And so want to kind of ask 2 questions about. So first of all, where did you kind of get your coaching philosophy per se, and then what goals do you have yourself in terms of growing as a coach?
Right, man, that's a fantastic question. You said a bunch of good things right there. The first thing I say is, obviously Ryan Nielsen's successful what he's doing. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. So some people have success with whatever approach they take. That's great for them, good for them. People that know me in the capacity you do would make that comment about me and my mentality. I think I've always had a good relationship with the players, but some people maybe that knew me earlier as a coach would say I was more of a ripper and jumping down their throat. And I did that. And what I've discovered, you asked me how I get to my coaching philosophy. What I've discovered is players respond a lot more to truth and coaching and here's the reason, because when you start yelling at them, they're either going to tune you out or get offensive. And you have to clear that hurdle before you can get to where it is you're trying to go or what you're trying to teach them. So you might as well go straight to that point in the moment. Like an example would be if a special teams play on punt gave up a punt and it was clear a punt block in a critical part of the game, your reaction would be to yell and jump down the kid's throat and tell him you should have did that. But I can promise you that kid didn't do that, or that player did not do that on purpose. He didn't want to sabotage the game in most cases, right? So the coaching moment is in the heat when he's feeling down and hurt at that moment, coach him and get him to understand, like, man, now look what that situation just cost our team. Look how you feel right now in this moment. And you know what I mean? And so usually I've learned that the feeling is just like anything else, like your parents could tell you to do whatever when you were a little kid, but you wouldn't stop until you got hit in the head to learn, like, that's how I should do it. And so through that process, they gain more trust in you and you knowing what you're talking about because they don't want to feel that again. And I've learned through that that's what it is. I'm not, don't take the coolness for weakness. Like, because I can have a relationship with my players and stuff like that does not mean, a lot of times when people hear player coach, that means that they run in. You know what I'm saying? The players' division is, oh, they do what they want to do. No, sir. You know what I'm saying? They knew exactly what the standard was. I chose to have a relationship as a man with them until they showed me they couldn't be a man. You show me you can't be a man, we have a problem. You show me that you can be a man and take coaching and know that it's never personal and we can have a relationship, then let's do business. And so that I've just had success with that. You know what I mean? So I've arrived there through the journey, not necessarily that's not how I showed up. You know what I mean? We all do that. We're all improving. We're either getting better or getting worse every day. So that's how I chose to get better.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So that's awesome. That was awesome hearing you say having given that answer too. So kind of taking the next step in your coaching, I guess relatively your next coaching career, you basically arrive on Northern Illinois in 2011. And that was, I guess, Dave, Coach Doran hired you then. What was that like? How did you originally meet him? What was it like working with him from then and then transitioning to state? What was that whole process, that whole time like?
Y'all are good. Y'all are good, man. Y'all are really good. Like, these are great. These are fantastic questions. I met Coach Doran through basically I was recommended him. First off, I got to say, Coach Doran gave me a job when I didn't have one. You know what I mean? Like, I was at Ball State. We had gotten fired. I was involved in getting that head job, didn't get it. For a minute there, it was a smooth transition, but for a minute there, it was like I didn't really have anything secured a job. So he gave me a job when I didn't have one. So I'm always indebted to him for that. So at any rate, he was at Wisconsin. My old head coach as a player, Barry Alvarez, recommended my name to him as a potential guy for his staff. He reached out, got an opportunity to come up to Madison after our season was over. And I think they were actually preparing. I think they were preparing for the Rose Bowl. I can't remember, right? No, they were about to play in their last home game and were going to get to go to the Rose Bowl. But at any rate, I got a chance to visit with him. We talked ball and this and that and met him. And, he offered me the job and went to Northern Illinois with him. And shoot, that was a great, fantastic program. Went in, won a championship. And his second year that he was there, I had left. And went to my alma mater, Wisconsin. And that's when I coached the year. So I was there his first year, not the second. And then when he went to state, that's when we got back together.
Yeah.
See,
I shouldn't say that's when I came back to join his staff.
On Wikipedia, it actually said that part of 2012 you were with Pittsburgh. Is there any truth to that?
Right. So
University of Pittsburgh.
Right. Absolutely. So I left Northern Illinois and went to Pitt for a month during the recruiting process. So I left Northern Illinois when Paul Chris first got hired at Pitt. I was on that initial staff with him. I was there for my opportunity came to go back to my alma mater. You know, Paul went to Wisconsin too. He's a Madison guy as well. So he understood my desire to go back. And so when those opportunities come, like who knows when they're going to come again in our profession. So I just dropped on the opportunity to go to my alma mater, which I thought I'd be there longer than what I was. Because at that point, that's when Brett Bielema made the decision to go to Arkansas, and then I had the opportunity to be with him in Arkansas or be with Dave in Raleigh, and we chose Raleigh. I mean, Dave was Dorn, but we love Raleigh and everything that NC State kind of represented.
There you go.
That's awesome. So when you, I guess, kind of, before we kind of move forward in the next, I guess, well, we can talk about this a little bit. Let me ask this question. So when you were at Wisconsin, and I think when you came to State, you were a running backs coach and then a tight ends coach when you got to State. How different is that when how you approach the coaching?
Yes, I was a tight ends coach at Wisconsin.
Okay.
Then I made the transition to tight ends when I went from Northern Illinois to
Wisconsin.
I guess Pitt, if you throw that in there, to Northern Illinois to Wisconsin is where I made that change.
I got you.
The difference in coach, I think the good coaches who really work at understanding ball and scheme and that could coach anything. Like the ones that really could, like they might not be great at it or up to what their standard of teaching would be. Right. But if you're really paying attention and trying to be a good coach, like you could coach anything. Having said that, making the transition from running back to tight end. Now, my second year as a GA at Ball State, Brady Hoke gave me the opportunity to coach tight ends that season. So I had a little bit of experience of it in it, but I didn't have great, I had to develop my drill work and the things that I found worked for the guys that I was coaching. And that took a little bit of time, but as I settled into that, it was smooth sailing. And I love the tight end position because, you can create mismatches with big bodies who can run well against, linebacker bodies or something that they might be better athletes than. You can create all those matchups in what we, call 12 personnel or with two tight ends. You think back to Jay Sam, going back to him, him and Greenwich on the field at the same time, or Cole Cook and Greenwich, or Cole Cook and Jay, or Benson Brown and Greenwich, or, you can do all those things because you had the type of body types that created mismatches.
Yeah.
So at any rate, I enjoyed coaching the tight end position. I enjoy both. I'm just a football coach, I guess. I coach anybody. I wouldn't feel great about coaching quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't feel great about that. I could, and I would obviously get there. But anything else, particularly on offense, I could coach. During COVID, my son's a safety. In college safety, and during COVID, he had to kind of train at home. So I turned into a DB coach during, being locked in the house anyway, you know what I mean? So I feel like I upped my resume there.
Yeah.
I feel confident.
I saw on your Instagram during the COVID where you and all your kids would do like drills on the driveway, running up the driveway and all that. And that was hilarious.
Yeah, man, it started out just kind of like a, something to do, but then became a need for him, because he was at that time, we thought he may still have a season. So we were preparing for that.
Yep.
And, we just started getting after it, and I'm kind of a detail freak. So I started to really work hard at, making sure the workouts were exactly right. And I'm looking at Instagram and all these different things, trying to get a good workout and remembering things I did as a player, things I've seen Coach Thunder do or other strength coaches I've been with. So it was fun. You know what I mean? It kept my sword sharp as a coach on that time when I was with him, And then the two other ones, my daughter is a track athlete, and so it's fun having her in that capacity. And then, the little 4-year-old thinks he can keep up with his older siblings.
Yeah, so, he thinks he's Superman.
Exactly. He thinks he's the one that can do it. So that's fun to watch, man. It was a good time period. Good. And hopefully we can, hopefully this summer off season time have some glimpse of that,
And so, one of the things I wanted to kind of get your input on is, first of all, wanted to kind of know, have you been able to keep up with NC State at all during your, your time in Pittsburgh?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Definitely. No, I check the scores for sure. And if the game's on, I'm clicking on. Particularly as I still know people and kids there, That's that's getting a little further removed. That's just time, natural attrition of things that happen. But when you know somebody out there, that's for sure. Like my wife would be like, state's on, there's DA and called Goof, like DP, or there, such and such is out there, turn it on, like because she knows them, you know what I mean? And so that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the relationships that you build with those kids. Like that just don't stop. My son, the 4-year-old, he's in Cole Cook's wedding this summer.
That's awesome.
As a ring bearer, I'm about to say flower bearer, ring bearer. So for example.
That's awesome. I love that. And so, I mean, kind of want to get your thoughts. I mean, overall, I mean, obviously it was definitely a tale of two stories between 2019, 2020. So kind of wanted to get your thoughts. I mean, I know that, Dylan Parham, is really, come into his own as a tight end, as a former quarterback, so from the quarterback side, and obviously running backs wise, there's a running back in my committee right there, but just kind of want to get your thoughts from a coaching side, thoughts on the team.
At State?
Yeah, State. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, listen, we from afar, we can always have our thoughts of what we think, but I'll say, like, I guess it'd been the 19th season. I mean, there was a lot of attrition and things that happened through that, a lot of transition. I'm talking about the players in and out, new guys, new roles. And I know people don't want to hear it, but that's going to take a little bit of time to get ironed out. You want it to be seamless, but when that happens, you lose NFL caliber players in waves like that. You know what I mean? That transition takes some adjustment. And clearly, Coach D was able to get it adjusted through this year. But the other part of that is the players had another year. They grew another year. They became a year more experienced, and that's what you see. And so now, I'm not positive. I know most of the guys on the roster like that are still there playing this and that, but I'm thinking, okay, they got a chance. It's like you're entering into that, what would it have been, 15, 16, 17 cycle again. You know what I mean? Through those years right there, as those players, that 2014 class or whatever other class, 15, grew, so did the production. And I think you're seeing something similar like that, you know what I mean, in the program.
So let me ask you this question. So kind of more of an overarching, you mentioned how that's kind of like there's periods to kind of go through with all that. I know a lot of fans out there are still selling or not buying Coach Dorn. Yeah. And for me, I'm all in on him. And I was curious, and I'm not saying, oh yeah, you're going to say he's negative, but like what are your thoughts about that Coach Dorn and being the coach you think, like about him being the guy at State? I know a lot of people think, okay, he hasn't beaten Clemson. He hasn't won the championship yet. What are your thoughts about all that?
I think, number one, I think you're always going to have critics. It don't even matter, that comes with it. If you're choosing to be a coach in the public eye, that comes with it, the good and the bad. And, what I found in the kind of the rise, I'll definitely answer your question, but what I found in the rise of it is the bigger places you go, the more weight put on what it is you do, the more eyes they have, the more people get critical in that way. Mm-hmm. And so that's fine, because you know what? They have standards. They want to win, and you'd rather them care than not care, because they're the same people that are cheering when you win. And that's fine. Like, we want you to want to win. We do too. Yeah. I think the understanding is just understand we're doing everything we can to get that done. And so, I get it. I understand it. I work for Coach Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's like one of the best coaches in the history of the league. You know what I'm saying? Like, all-time winningest African-American coach in NFL history. And he still never had a losing season. You know what I mean?
Saw that the other day. Yeah.
All that stuff, and it's still like, we get out of here. It's like, okay. Or it's your quarterback. It's people who wanted to run Tom Brady out of town. They wanted to do something to, and I'm not talking about what happened with the organization, Tom Brady. I'm saying fans and people like,
right.
And it's like, everybody's going to be critical of them. So I say that to say, Coach had a proven track record of developing programs and winning and being sustained. Man, football's a game where the ball got to bounce your way. You know what I mean? You got to have some positive things happen. You got to have some be injury free and stuff like that. And then things will come together and the chemistry with the team. So it's fine that people think that because that's their standard, as it should be. They should expect winning. But for what he does for the program and the kids and the building the relationships and the foundation built there, I don't know what else you would want for people. You know what I mean? And so the people are always going to be critical. Coaches are going to do things the way they do them, and how they see best fit. And you just got to trust in your guy and roll, I guess.
Yep.
And from a coach's perspective, it just comes with it. And so you can't pay it any mind. You just shake it off and keep moving.
It's always going to be there.
Because I would tell my wife, like, okay, you can't, don't hit on the social media comments. Don't hit comments. Don't read the comments. That's not going to do anything for you. Yep. You all you're going to do is get mad and tell me about how somebody was saying this, and that's fine. That's their right to say it, but don't subject yourself to it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I know we're kind of at the end of this year, but I did want to kind of give like a little fun question there. So one of the things back in 2013, NC State football did a segment called Coaches First and 10, which basically they would ask questions, kind of getting to know the new coaching staff. And so one of those questions was, if you weren't a coach, what would you be? And you said a chef. So, so I gotta ask. So is that? What's the cuisine change like? I would pay to see you.
My chef game, my cooking game has gone to new heights at this point. What
year was that? Back.
14? That was 14.
That was 13.
13. Oh, so we're talking 8 years ago. Yeah, it's definitely gotten a lot better at this point. But I stick by that. People still bring that up, by the way.
Really?
Oh yeah, they people that I know, or I should say know me, that paid attention to that and saw, they'd be like, yeah, you said that. Remember? I'm like, yeah, I sure do. And I stand by.
So what's the go-to meal then? What's the go-to meal?
Oh, shoot, man.
I'm putting you on the spot.
My son would say like ribs, you know what I mean? Like he enjoys my ribs. He always wants me to make the ribs, whether they're smoked or whether they're on the grill.
And I haven't eaten dinner yet, man. I'm getting hungry listening to you.
But that's what he would say. So, I enjoy it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of give you a chance to be around family and hang out and do something while you're going. And it's been cool.
Good deal. Well, thank you so much, Coach, for joining us. Really do appreciate it. And good luck this season. Hope big things for you and Jay Sam and the rest of the Steelers.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on here, guys.
All right, Wolfpack Nation. Hope y'all enjoyed that interview with Coach Eddie Faulkner. I hope you guys really enjoyed it as much as we did. It was such a great, time to really get some insight into the transition between college, being a college football coach, and being a NFL coach, and kind of getting some insight into Jaylen Samuels and his thoughts on being a coach in college, like for Dave Doran, etc. So I hope you all really enjoyed it. So please make sure, again, if you haven't already, subscribe to us by hitting the button bottom right hand corner. Please like this video if you enjoyed the video, and also to make sure to check out our other content, our other episodes that we have. Follow us at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. Also, to make sure to reach out to us if you have any interest at all in any Tuffy Talk merchandise. So with that being said, thank you all so much again. Really appreciate y'all's time. Please stay safe, Wolfpack Nation. And as always, go Pack.